Yo, yo! For those of you watching the replay, we're going to give people a minute or two to jump inside of here. Give everyone a moment. Drop a comment. Once you're inside, let me know. We'll make sure that these comments are working. Cool. Looks like we're all up and running. We'll give everyone a minute or two. Say what's up once you're in here. Let me know where everyone's from. I know it always lags by like a minute or two. It's totally fine though. Aldwin, what's up? Jesse, how's business? It's going excellent. How about yourself? Karubal, what's going on? How's everyone doing? We got a lot of fun stuff to cover. This can be fun. I just put this together over the last few hours. A ton of stuff. I had to dig through like 100 screenshots of direct questions that I had screenshotted from my story post. A lot of people replied. I literally said anything you're struggling with e-commerce. There's also a few personal questions and stuff inside of here, and hundreds and hundreds. I think like 800 people replied. So I went through every single one and reached out to a lot of people who had some more in-depth stuff to see exactly what they were struggling with. So that's what we're going to be talking about inside of here. What's up? Yo, everyone, let me know where you're from inside of here. I'm very curious to see. I'm sure we got people from all over the world. Baltimore, that's awesome. I've never been there. A lot of stuff. I know this lags by a minute or so, but it's completely fine. Please upload this live stream. There will be a replay for this one. Yeah. So this one will be fun. Ton of stuff. Netherlands, Chicago. Hey, Netherlands, by the way, is one of my favorite spots I've visited. Florida, Greensboro, North Carolina, Arizona, France, San Diego, Canada. Wow, people from everywhere. That's what's up. Cool. Well, we've got a ton of stuff to go over inside of here, and I want to leave as much time as possible at the end for a direct Q&A just to go through, because all of this, first of all, for those of you who just jumped in, this is predicated upon questions that I was asked. So a lot of different situations and stuff that people are struggling with. So that's what it's based around. But I still want to give those people who, maybe didn't get a chance to ask a question, because I went through all of them on my Instagram story and kind of put together a couple of things, just in a specific flow that makes the most sense, as well as answering a lot of those for you. So we're going to kind of kick it off with Facebook ads, which was the most actually requested topic. I know there's a ton of stuff that goes into that, the more in-depth stuff and whatnot. I've made a ton of YouTube videos, but I want to focus in on a few key things. A very, very reoccurring topic, picking targeting, okay? And this is the interest that you're using on Facebook. And I know a lot of people seem to struggle with this. In my opinion, I believe there's an abundance of interest. So as long as it's some sort of not crazy niche audience where it's like people over 55 who you're selling like a $5,000 product and they love turtles, where it's not like crazy in depth, there's going to be a lot of different interests. But that doesn't mean I actually go ahead and test a lot of them. So when I'm structuring my interests, the most of the time that I'm doing is flex targeting. So that's the biggest thing I'm doing, where it's one interest at a time in each ad set, okay? So that way I know exactly where it's coming from, and it lets me get a smaller, more niche audience, especially when I don't have a lot of data. So if you're just jumping in, you're trying to test Facebook ads, use the Audience Insights tool, go through, look at a ton of different brands. You need to find, I would say 5 to 10, go write down a list of all the biggest brands, just any stores. If they're already a Shopify store, like a big e-commerce store, that will help you so much, because Facebook's going to give you so many different interests based off that. And just understand this, 95% of them are going to be complete crap, but that's okay. You just need to weed out the ones that are good. From there, you're going to structure with either flex targeting, where it's only one interest, or stacking, which for me is about 3 to 7. I don't like to go over 7, and I don't like to go under 3, because if I'm doing 2, I would prefer to do just 1. So that's the way I structure my actual interests. We're going to come back to this at the end. So if you guys have questions, write it down, save it if it's important. We're going to go through all of that here at the end. But I want to make sure that just with Facebook ads, people's questions get answered, because in my opinion, and I know this, I believe this to be a fact in my own opinion, but the way that everybody does it is different. Joe Schmo does it different than Kelly. Kelly does it different than me. So every single person does this differently. So it's not really one specific way, but based on what I do, and what I do works for me. So if you want to take that route and duplicate that, you then have to listen to this. So I wouldn't recommend doing what I call mass mixing, which is where you mix a ton of different stuff. Does that make sense? Is everybody kind of on the same page with that? That makes total sense with how you're structuring the interest and whatnot, because there's a lot of different ways to do it, and way beyond just the interest, just to run Facebook ads. So we're going to touch on budgeting here. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page with that. Only got one sale today on Facebook. Hey, it's a start. It took me many, many, many months to actually get things rolling with Facebook. Over 6. So yes, cool. Yeah, so I just want to make sure everyone is completely on the same page with that before we really move into budgeting, because this was a direct question. I wrote the question. Someone said, how do you scale past $5 a day tests? And this was a little bit interesting to me because a lot of people make videos how to run Facebook ads with $5. That's seems to be something that's out there, and that's totally fine. I used to do that. That's not what I do anymore. So when I'm running tests, I don't run them at $5. So I don't have this specific issue. So wherever you got the idea of doing that, you should follow that specific strategy to do it. And the principles can be applied. You scale past it once the data is coming in or once it's telling you to do so. And by telling you, I mean the data is speaking. So if it's starting to work, if you know based on what strategy you're doing, that you can then really accelerate the grasp, meaning how fast you're grabbing all this data. So as you're testing, I personally like to kick it off anywhere between $10 to $20 a day. That for me is a very simple thing, and that's per ad set, by the way. So yes, if you go and make 10 of them, that does add up. That can be $100, $200 a day very, very quickly, just with a base, very cheap price. So that really allows me to go through and do what we just talked about up here, selectively, which is the key word, picking the interests and then testing them. So that's the primary thing. I'm testing the interest, the age. I don't usually test a location too much right off the bat. That will come later. I just want to get a grasp on, first of all, how well is this audience responding to the product, but who is the ideal audience for the people who are responding to this? Because then you narrow in on that. You narrow in based on what's working. So this is really how I structure everything. I know a lot of people have questions built off of this, and this is why I kind of organized it in this way so it flows together. When I'm actually deciding what I want to do, a lot of people seem to say, what niche is profitable? Should I get into the phone case niche? I actually don't do that. I don't structure it like, hey, let me think here. I'm going to get into the animal niche or the fashion niche or something very general. What I do is I do specific product research. And so based on that, I find a winning product. And once I find the product that I know I want to do, then I go ahead and build the entire store around it. So I kind of find the product first and build the niche. And I actually go through and I find a ton of other what's called filler products. So when I'm marketing a store, whether it's new or not, I'm really only marketing 1 to maybe 3 products. Usually it's just a main 1 to 2 that are pushing the bulk of the revenue. Obviously, as we're going to talk about in a second, there's upsells, there's cross-sells, and there's downsells. But think about it as a main product, right, when you start. So you want to find that main product first. So you know it's a winner. So then you're not wasting your money, which is a huge thing. You have to make sure up front that you set all of that up correctly. So doing the product, and then from there, and this is how my process, it's kind of a 3-step pre-structure, is really unique. I then go ahead and do this, the audience research to pick the targeting. And I do what I said with the audience insights tool. I find as many interests that just in general relate to what I'm doing. I line them all up in different tabs. I go through each and every one and look at their site. I look at their engagement on their page on Facebook, and I will also see exactly how similar the products are on their own store. So what I'm trying to do here is really narrow it out. And I didn't actually write this down for you guys, but be selective. So that's the biggest key there is I'm extremely selective with what interest I actually spend my money on. Because out of all the ones you find, which it can be a lot, there's really only a few key ones that are actually going to make you your money. So you really need to kind of focus in on those and figure out which ones are going to be that before you spend the money. And obviously you don't 100% know, but I find the audience first. And here's what's happened a few times. I pick the product and I go do all the audience research and I don't really find too many interests that actually look good. And I test it and the audience just doesn't react to the product well. So because I'm doing all of that, it gives me that advantage, but also this is a really big one for the third piece. It's giving me the 3-step pre-structure on the ad itself, not on the whole process. So once I have the product and I do all the audience research, which means I'm seeing what other people are doing, I'm looking at other ads at other stores, that gives me these 3 things. An idea of what type of products are working, what their ads look like, meaning the picture or the video. Okay, I'm going to write this down. If you guys want to screenshot it, feel free. All right, picture or video, or write it down or whatever you guys want to do. Let me actually expand this out for you. Oh, I'm going to edit this on the fly as we go to make sure it's all good. And it's also going to let you see the ad copy. So as I'm looking at all these other people's page posts on Facebook, which is just kind of backtracking and looking at what they're doing, then it gives me a sense of what's working. You can see the ones that have the most engagement, and then boom, you immediately know which ones are already getting momentum. So you can kind of style yours based on that. Not copy, but you can definitely get some really good ideas. And from there, you can go look at their site and see what they're doing for product descriptions. Again, get ideas. Okay, that's huge. I always like to be unique. I don't ever copy paste, but if I'm ever not in a creative mode or I just don't know what to write because sometimes I don't know a lot about the product, that's how I do it. I like to look at what other people are doing. Okay? So that's huge. But up to this point, after you find all of that, this is in order again. And again, feel free to screenshot all this. I'll go back through them at the end during the Q&A. But the upsell, cross-sell, as well as downsell. So this is typically when people take a different action, okay? So if they buy, if they almost buy, or if they, like whatever, upsell, cross-sell. I'm going to explain this in a second, but the Tripwire offer needs to be in place. There's multiple apps you can use, Smart Upsell. If you literally just go into your Shopify app, into the App Store, and type in upsell, there's going to be 100. It really doesn't matter what you use. I recommend Smart Upsell just because, well, I guess it's smart. It kind of lets you do a little bit more options, a little bit more optimizing inside of there on their end, which seems to prove extremely beneficial. So make sure you do that because typically 20 to 30% of people are actually going to take the upsell if it's structured correctly, which is huge. So think about this for a second. This is one way with the marketing that I see a lot of people making money, but they're missing out on so much. Free plus shipping, contrary to what you might think. This is where, let's say you got this water bottle here as an example. You're trying to give it away for free. They just have to cover shipping. You make your money on the back end with shipping. You cover the cost of shipping, your product cost, your marketing cost, and some profit margin, ideally. So free plus shipping is something people tend to do in attempts to try to make money. You can do that. I do that. I do make money off that and I make margin. But the whole concept and the premise of free plus shipping is to get a customer in the door so that then you can sell them on other things. And that comes from 2 points. There's the upsell itself as well as email marketing, which is, well, you're still upselling them. So what type of upsell are you guys doing? Well, the thing is it going to be more expensive? If you're selling this water bottle for $10, what do you sell them? A water purifier that costs $4,000? Do you sell them a coaster for it that costs $3? Is it more expensive or less expensive? I really like to test products on the upsell directly after they've already bought that are a little bit more expensive. So for example, you want to test their pockets and see where they're at. If this is $10, I'll usually increase it by about double and a half. So I'll bring it to like 25. I'll try and find a product that makes sense for that price point. And keep in mind, you don't have any marketing cost on this upsell because you already acquired the customer. So you don't want to just pay for a free plus shipping customer and then focus on getting another. You want to increase their value as well. So if they don't take the upsell for $25, then you can do what's called a downsell, where then you sell them on the cheaper one because you still want to increase their value as a customer. So maybe you sell them coasters for $6 or for $9, whatever it is. You just want to keep doing your best to increase that value, okay? So does that make sense? Is everybody with me so far on that? We're going to be jumping to Q&A really quick. So I'm just flying through this. I'm going to go back through it during Q&A, let anybody ask any questions, but does that make sense? Should I use free plus shipping if you're starting out? It's a great way to do things because it's cheaper. So you're not going to have to pay as much to acquire a customer. So if you're starting with the lower budget or you don't want to risk as much because you don't 100% know if what you're doing is going to work, it is a great strategy. But just keep in mind, you want to be able to increase their value. The goal is not just to make money off it. Okay? So that's going to be massive. That makes sense? Yes, yes, yes. Positive energy always. Everyone, I hope you guys are having a great weekend, by the way, as well. But yeah, so that's everything with the upsell and cross-sell. I would just highly recommend putting that in place. Again, there's a ton of different apps. Smart Upsell is a great one that I would recommend. Now, the final thing I'm going to talk about here before we jump into the Q&A, because I really want you guys to control this, is how to be productive. And this is something I know a lot of people struggle with. This is something I struggle with. I still do, and I have for so many years. It's just how do you get more done during the day? Okay, whether you're trying to do all this research and figure all this stuff out, or honestly just do whatever you have to do and actually get it done, which is something, again, I still struggle with, but I'm getting better. So there's a lot of things that I've done, and this is kind of funny, but similar to my ads, I pre-structure my day. So the way I do that is with what I call a priority list. Every single day, I don't know if when you guys were growing up, your mom would leave the house or go to work and leave you with like a chore list, right? Or a to-do list. It was always negative. Why do you want a to-do list? So a priority list, it's kind of a mood shift, a mindset shift for me. It's a priority on what I have to get done, 100% no excuses. So I pre-structure my day the day before. So right before I go to bed, whenever that is, midnight, 2 a.m., whatever it is for you, I actually go ahead and write down like the main 5 to 20 things that I have to get done. And I've experimented with this a lot, like a lot. For example, putting as many as I can in chronological order of what I want to get done and in that order. Sometimes it switches up. I have to quickly get on a call or go somewhere, something happens. But I try to follow that at least for like the first 3 to 5 as closely as possible in the morning before things get hectic throughout the day. That way, it immediately sparks that consistent momentum every single day in the same way. So making sure you get that list done. Like Diddy said, start a list, and then once I finish it, I start a new one, and I don't stop until it's done. So making sure you do that. Now, this one is huge. This is something I've realized, is that you have to keep the bigger picture in mind. So whatever you're doing, if it's just a financial situation, you're just doing it to make money, your passion is only linked financially. So to some degree, it's going to get boring. You have to have a genuine passion around what you're doing. That's, might sound cliche or whatever, but past a certain degree, which is totally fine if you're only trying to make more money right now, that's totally cool. You can do that with e-commerce. It's really not all that difficult. So you just need to understand that it has to be a bigger goal. There has to be a bigger vision that is worth making all these sacrifices and honestly just being disciplined. So that's huge. Let me know if you guys struggle with some productivity as well. Maybe you guys want some more advice on that. Feel free to drop it in the comments down below, or I can make videos on it. But that is something that is massive, especially when learning all of this stuff. When I was first starting to do e-commerce, I just failed for 6 months straight. Literally just loss after loss after loss. It was terrible. And the thing I learned from it is I'm like, okay, every single month that I continue to fail and I continue to waste like another $1,000 in ad spend, keep in mind, this is when I really didn't have any money, I was learning. So I learned so much stuff, which I wrote down. I wrote down so much stuff that didn't work. That way I wouldn't do it again, or if I did it again, I would completely reevaluate how I did it. So I was really just hyper analytical with everything, and trust me, that takes a lot of discipline. So using something like this where I just kind of pre-structure my day and I make sure that everything is outlined in advance, it really helps me keep my mind clear, because I don't want to be wondering the next day, or for example, today, oh, what am I going to do? What do I have to do after this? Do I got to jump on a call or this or that? It's not like that. I already know what I have to do, so I don't have to spend the creative and mind power or willpower, whatever it is, thinking about that. I just look at my list. It's written out on a huge whiteboard. So that's something I would highly recommend you guys. Let me know if that helped with productivity. I just wanted to throw in a quick little thing there because I know so many people have issues with it, myself included, again. So it is something that's huge. Being productive is very, very important. But it's something you're going to work on. I'll probably struggle with this for the rest of my life, because how do you gauge if someone's productive? You get stuff done no matter what. You made yourself lunch. You got it done, right? You have to eat. So you have to think about that. You want to be able to do something. You have to actually get it done. But if you really want it, that want and the reason behind that, which is again the bigger picture, has to be stronger than whatever thing you have to sacrifice, which might seem huge right now, but it's very minuscule in the big picture. It has to seem like that. So it's huge. Other than that, you guys, before we jump into the Q&A, I'm going to be doing something for every single person who's on this live. If you guys are not inside of the Ecom program, I'm going to add a code in here in a second. Every single person who's on this live only for the next hour can get $200 off inside of there. And I have actually, if you guys have been following me on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, over the last 2 weeks, I've flown someone in from another state and another person from another country to record so much new content for inside of here. And everybody who jumps inside of there right now with this code, which I'll be giving you in a second, you can kind of see it down here, is going to be getting early bird access to that. So that's going to be dropping for everybody in about 30 days. You guys are going to get access to that in 2 weeks. So a crap ton of stuff on the back end with specifically how to do this, especially with email marketing, and then a lot more stuff on Facebook ads, something called a Power Pixel, just a ton of different stuff I've never even talked about because I wanted to keep it until it was fully able to be explained 100% live in front of you. So for everyone who's inside of there, I'm going to move this link up to the top so you guys can see it. It might take a moment to update. You might have to refresh it or anything, but use the code 200 when checking out. This is going to be up. I set it automatically, so it's up for 1 hour. Code is, let me put this in here for you guys, 200, just 200. So other than that, that should be inside of there. You guys might have to refresh, but that walks you step by step through every single point of the process. So even if you already have a store doing $5,000 a day, that's great, but there's further potential. If your audience is already doing that and your product's doing that, you can scale it further with not even just Facebook ads or whatever marketing you're doing. You can increase that by 20, 30, 40% with the emails and the upsell or more if you do it correctly. So just understanding that structure can massively and drastically increase your revenue. So not to mention your profit margin, because something like this, if you do this correctly, it's not costing you money to increase the value of a current customer. So that's why it's so huge to be able to do that, because you can really increase that and literally just add another 40% of revenue, where that revenue is all profit minus the product cost. So even if you guys literally are just starting, you have absolutely no idea what you're doing, this walks you step by step through everything. So other than that, you guys, we're open for Q&A. If you want me to specifically dive back into any of these slides, let me know. I know we just flew through a lot with Facebook ads. Understanding the pre-structure, which for me is very, very important. Before I launch any ad, whether it's on a new store or whatever, I map out every single thing that I'm going to do, and I do the same thing with my day as well. So let me know if you guys have any specific questions. I'm sure there's going to be a lot. We're going to go through, bang these out, help you guys out with anything that you guys need. When breaking down a VC campaign, should I focus on what audience got the most VCs or the most ATC? You want an action that's further than that. So someone with ATC, that would be huge to look at that. Because if you're getting something that has, let's say you have two groups. One got only 100 VCs, but it got 5 add to carts. And one got 200, but only got 2 add to carts. You might have gotten more people to take action, but in reality, they didn't take action at a deeper level. So they weren't fully as interested or qualified. So you're looking at that next step up. And as you guys know, I move through the 4-point process with the conversion ads in order as we scale. And obviously, there's different points as you move through that and when to do it, but all that's outlined inside of the program. Would you recommend a clothing line? Clothing is actually considered one of the most difficult niches. That was the first store I ever ran. It was a complete flop. However, I'm confident I could go back in and make it work now with the skills, but I would say if you're a complete beginner, it's just going to be more expensive. There's massive brands. You're going to need a bigger budget. And unless you really, really know what you're doing and you're good at it, you will definitely, I don't want to say it's not going to work, because it totally can, but it's going to take you longer to figure out for sure. So clothing is usually something where you're also going to get a higher return rate. There's just a few different variables you want to think about. Winning product help? Yeah, for sure. What questions do you guys have on finding a winning product? Because that's massive. Like I said in here in this third slide, creating that pre-structure before I do anything, before I can even think about launching an ad and outlining the pre-structure on paper, I need to make sure I have a winning product and that there's an audience I can advertise to, which will also be a scale audience. Because just because there's 800,000 people, your budget, once you start scaling, will blow right through that. That's not a lot of people. You need a lot. You need a real scale audience, which is outlined inside of the program in the second module for Facebook, to be able to spend a lot of money. Because if you start making, let's say you go from $0 to $1,000 a day in 2 weeks, right? You do pretty good. But then it stops working because you tapped out that audience. Trust me, you're going to be mad. It's not a good thing to run into. How do you find influencers in the case niche? Something like that, there's not specific influencers. For example, for like a phone case, you would just need to find someone's personal brand who relates to what that product is. So your phone case is not just a phone case. It's, for example, a dog phone case, or it has some sort of art on it, or a quote or something, even if it's just a completely plain one, then it would be some sort of tech or gadget page. It needs to relate to that. The phone case itself, in my opinion, is not a niche. That's a type of product, if that makes sense. So it's massive. Can you go back over structure targeting? Yeah, for sure. So with everything with Facebook, there's 2 different ways you can run your ads. When you're going through and setting your interest, which is your targeting, right? The one name, the group of people you're targeting, you can do one of 2 options, okay? And most people don't even know really like the terms and that it exists, but it's either one of 2. You're running one interest, okay? So out of your entire ad that you just launched, you're only targeting one group of people. That's called flex targeting. Now, inside of flex targeting, it's only one interest, but you can have narrows, you can exclude people, and do all of that stuff on top of that initial audience. But it's just one audience. The reason this is really good is it's just focused in on that. It lets Facebook optimize to the best of its ability inside of like that circle, if you will. And so on top of that, if it starts working, you're going to know exactly where those results came from, versus if you were stacking interest, which means you put 5 in there, one on top of the other, you don't know exactly where those results came from. So it can get a little bit messy with that. That's why I really like flex targeting, but there are situations in which we do have to do stacking, especially with scaling. Where's the best place to find a winning product fast? I would say AliExpress and then cross-referenced on Facebook. Huge. But finding the right product, it's going to take you some time. Like, for example, I'm not going to lie, my night tonight is going to be spent on product research for a new store that I have an idea around. However, going through and doing that, I can't do anything else until I know for a fact it's a winning product. And do you know it's a winning product before you test it? I still do, based on the research. But really, you can only fully test once you run the ads. So you can still be 99% certain before you run a single ad. Do you need to make an LLC for your store and you use LLCs yourself? You don't need to. I actually didn't start one for almost a year, which probably wasn't a good idea. I was just focused on making money. So once I started getting cash flow, then I went and talked to a CPA. So I would recommend you talk to a CPA depending on where you live. And yes, I do use LLCs for most of my stuff. Let's see, high ticket products. High ticket's huge, especially when it comes to doing something like upselling and cross-selling. It's way better. You're going to see better, not return rates, conversion rates through email marketing with a higher ticket product, especially if that front end offer was higher ticket. So that's usually a little bit more fun. However, higher ticket products I would stay away from, even though they're viewed as more profitable and a little bit better. I would stay away from them in the beginning if you don't have one of two things: experience and really the capital for the advertising. Because the worst thing you could do is get into something high ticket that could work, and you got a ton of information, but it just doesn't pan out because maybe you ran out of money or you were close and you just weren't able to make it work for whatever reason when it would have worked for a store that had cheaper products. So that's why I recommend the free plus shipping kind of up front with a few offers, and then once it's working and you have cash flow, immediately start going higher ticket on that same store with those customers. What do you suggest with a budget of $500 to spend on ads? Hova, I would be very, very particular on what you do. So it depends on the platform. If you're doing that on Facebook, the new module inside of the program literally has a video how to run Facebook ads with only $500, which based on what we do is usually viewed as not enough. But there are certain ways you can do it. So it's going to be very much mindset oriented as well as practical on where you're allocating that money. I would recommend Instagram influencers if you're just kind of like zero experience getting into it, unless you can really outline everything with Facebook and you know for a fact you have a winning product that's lower ticket. For sure. How much experience do you become good at drop shipping? Aiden, that's a great question. I would say before I actually first started getting consistent results, it took me about 6 to 7 months. Before I was good, I would say about 12. So it depends on how you want to look at it, like good, great, expert, whatever. I don't consider myself like the best person or an expert, but I'm good at what I do specifically. There's plenty more strategies I still need to learn that I want to learn, but I'm just focusing on what's working and doubling down on that. So let me know if there's any specific slides you guys want me to click on just so you can screenshot it. I know this stuff, a lot of people want me to put like a download link to it or whatever. What do you think about men's watch niche? It's great. I've just seen out of this niche, particularly with the men's watches, just from being an Instagram influencer in the luxury fashion space for quite some time, even a year or two ago, the watch niche was extremely saturated on Instagram. So unless you're using a very high personal brand and your personal, or not your personal, but your branding is on point for your store, I would stay away from it. So that's more so something you're going to take to Facebook, and you're going to need a bigger budget to use very, very credible influencers where you actually have them with the product. And you need to make sure your branding is extremely good, your credibility, your social proof. To explain Facebook marketing, for sure. What specific questions did you have about it exactly, Tasid? How to dive into ad set metrics after finding winning ad sets. What specific metrics are you looking at? I primarily use the breakdown tab for everything when I'm running Facebook ads. So there's a few things I'm looking at. I don't initially start by targeting multiple countries. So I usually just stick with the US. Now the data I do look at once the ads are being run, which I'll look at it at certain points when certain milestones and numbers are hit, primarily is the age and gender as well as the platform and device. So I want to see exactly what demographic is viewing it, what's actually not only viewing it, but engaging with it and taking action upon it, and then what platform that's on. Because I do go a little bit broad just to see kind of where that audience hangs around. Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is that mobile or desktop? You kind of want to get a feel for that. Victor just rolled in the course. That's what's up. Heck yeah. Make sure to follow it in a specific structure. So it is laid out very specifically, and that is the case for a reason. So I know a lot of people might jump in there and they already have a store built. Still at least skim through the parts on building the store, because the way I run my marketing is predicated upon that to really make sure the conversion rate is effective. That's huge. ClickFunnels or Shopify. I actually use those for two different purposes. So I've done ClickFunnels for dropshipping. I didn't see anything too successful with it. The only thing I did that worked was a supplement brand, because it was a 6-step funnel. So primarily for e-commerce, if I'm going to do, let's say, any of the other stores or products I'm running right now, and I set up ClickFunnels for it, it would only be a 1 or 2 page funnel. So in my opinion, ClickFunnels is very effective for dropshipping. Obviously, as long as you know how to structure it, once you can have a multi-funnel process, like a multi-funnel step. But for most products and most offers, you don't need that. So in my opinion, I just stick with Shopify for that. But I do use ClickFunnels for other things. When to optimize for purchase? Julian, great question. A lot of people say do it right out of the gate. Personally, that's not my strategy. What they do might work amazingly. That's great. For what I do, I usually do that once I have over about 100 sales on the pixel in what's called a relative time frame. So that's considered 2 months. That's a good rule of thumb. However, you can still start testing it at 80. If it doesn't work at 100, then go back to what you were doing at VC, IC, or ATC, and then keep doing that, get more data, and then try it again. Then come back if it doesn't work, try it again. You want to keep testing it until it does work. I don't have much money, but I'm going to start my store tonight. Is Instagram bringing enough traffic? Shay, as long as you can find a good influencer and you know for a fact you have a good product and you're very confident in that, then most definitely. Instagram influencers have a lot of potential, 100%. So just make sure you know what you're doing with the marketing. The worst thing I would want to see is you just waste the money. Some with the car niche. Daniel said, do you think the car niche has potential? I sell car keychains. I'm having trouble finding good influencers. Yeah, I haven't looked into it too much myself, so unfortunately I can't really give you crazy in-depth advice. I would say for that, you're going to probably find more success with going for a personal brand, someone who's big in the car space and getting them to endorse that. Whether that's you sending the product directly or just paying to promote it, I would test that, but that's definitely something you're probably going to get a little bit more specific with on Facebook. Facebook just, in my opinion, is way better because you can really segment who's seeing it, what their interests are. So I've been doing a few things for a couple of car brands. Actually, it's not like the keychains. It's still relating to like fashion, but it's doing extremely, extremely well with the BMW and Mercedes niche. So that's kind of what I'll reveal on that end of things, but there's definitely an audience there for that stuff. That's my issue, marketing. Yeah, Shay, marketing is literally 90% of it. So I explained in a video once, and this is broken down in the program, where your attention needs to be centered. So when you're first getting started, okay, finding the right product, absolutely massive. Doing the audience research on that to ensure that the product is a winner and will work, huge. So you could say those are 50% and 50% of where you need to spend your attention. But once you have a winning product and it's good and everything's set up with the site and the apps, well, you can now consider that only 5% of the big picture, because now the other 90, 95%, whatever you want to call it, is the marketing, because that's what you're going to be actively doing every day. So that's why I focus so much on the marketing. That's why there's multiple different marketing modules on each platform inside of them in the program. So that's really huge. That's the one specific skill I would recommend you learn. Thoughts on the makeup niche? Massive industry. Kylie Jenner, about to be the youngest billionaire. Maybe she already is. But I don't know too much about it. I don't do it. I haven't researched it. But your branding would probably have to be really, really good. So a lot of this stuff where it's like, you'd have to think about it logically. Like for me, I'm not going to buy, let's just take shoes for an example. I'm not going to buy shoes from a random store that I just see an ad for online. I prefer a reputable brand. Do I care all that much? I really don't know. But unless I see someone I really know and trust repping that product and showing it, then I'm not even going to be interested. I won't even think twice about buying it. I'll just ignore it. Any ways to get free traffic? Yeah, none that I do at the moment. If you own Instagram influencer pages, you definitely could do extremely well with that, as long as your store relates to it. So that would be huge. But I wouldn't focus too much on that. Paid ads is where you want to be. How do you package products and sell as a single package in Shopify? Oh, you mean if someone bundles and does multiple different orders? Well, if you're doing it from different suppliers, like there's different people in different locations, you can't. So that's kind of the short answer for that, unless you're using a third-party fulfillment center. Let's see. Best niche for beginner. I don't recommend niches. Again, this is one thing a lot of people ask about niches. I really want to stress this, so I'm going to go over it a third or fourth time. Pick the product first. Do a lot of research. Like if you're saying, I want to go in the dog niche or the car, the fitness, the clothing, just completely get rid of all that. Just try this for a second. And go spend 20 to 30 minutes with a complete open mind, a clear head, and a piece of paper. Go through and just try to find products. Doesn't matter what niche it's in that you know for a fact are selling. Write all of them down. Go through product after product after product after product and figure out which one is selling the best. Find a few more products that relate to that and then go do the audience research on Facebook around that to see which one you see has the most potential. That's how I like to structure it. Again, I don't pick the niche. I pick the product and then I create the niche around it, if you will. Do single product stores still work? Yeah, so here's the way I structure that. I don't launch any single product stores anymore. I have, but the thing I did, and this is even a year ago, I would then quickly add other products on once I market. So back to what I said at the beginning or kind of midway through this, you're only going to be marketing a primary 1 to 2 products, maybe 3 once you get it going. So obviously there's going to be others with the upsell, cross-sell, and downsells and whatnot. But you really only need one product, but then put other products on there, which are called filler products. Because people will still buy those, but that makes you look more established. You're not going to look like a brand with only one product. Should I start a general store or a single product? Neither. I don't really prefer general stores very much. For me, it's kind of just a headache, as well as that doesn't align with how I do my research. So if you have a general store, here's what I'd recommend to you right now. Just very practical advice. I would say test multiple, like take the best product in every niche that's on your store, test it, whichever one does the best, gets the best engagement or most amount of sales, immediately niche your entire store down to just that niche, and then focus on that product. That's what I would recommend. How should I spend $1,000? Assuming you already have the right information, everything you need to get everything going, you wouldn't even be asking that question. So it's going to be with the marketing. Very carefully. You're going to want to probably do 2 pools of money on taking, once you have all your information on what you need to learn, taking some of the money, which would be, I'd say half that, about $500, testing on top of what you learned to get the experience, because there will most likely, like 99% chance, be a period where you fail. You will lose some money. You will test different ads because you have to get the hang of it and kind of get the feel for it. Then once you understand that, tap into that second other pool of money, and that's when you can start using that to get the results. So you got to kind of get some experience under your belt, for sure. Where can I get the best dropshipping training? Depends on what you want to do, but for specifically what I do, the e-commerce program is down below. Again, you guys, I made that code. The code is 200, just 200, 200. Go ahead, use that. That's going to be up for the next hour. So we got like 30 minutes left on that before it's automatically gone. So use that. The link is down below. If you don't see it, refresh, and then it'll be good to go. And make sure to like the video as well. I appreciate you guys. Subscribe. We're close to 80K. Absolutely insane. How to know if a product is oversaturated? In my opinion, I don't like the term saturated. And this might seem interesting or weird to some people, but this is the way I think about a product. As long as you know how to sell, and like, fidget spinners, okay, you got certain trends that can kind of die off like that. Just be logical with it. But for the most part, most products, as long as you know how to market it, you can still get sales. So it really comes back to understanding that marketing piece. Now, a lot of people might be selling it, but that is an indicating factor that it's a winning product. So you do want to look at that. Facebook marketing, how to target your audience. Yo, tactic, man. That's what we've been going over a ton. Inside of, where was it? The Facebook one. Picking your targeting and then how to structure that. So that's huge. Go through the second module inside of the program. It walks through everything. I do that live in front of you. I set up all the ads. What's the longest Facebook will take to review an ad? It can be a while. It does depend. I mean, the longest I've kind of seen was a few days, like 3 days. So usually if they're taking a really long time to review it, they're going to not enable it. They're pretty much just going to disapprove your ad if it takes a long time. The only other situation where that would happen, because it's not really a person who does it, it's usually an automated filtering bot system, would mean that they're kind of backed up on orders. Like they're backed up on ads that are running, which could happen around a holiday. How to get live in the program. Shay, hit the link down below and don't forget to use that code. The code is 200 in the coupon code part. But the link is the top link in here. If you don't see it, refresh. Yeah, and so all you guys, again, everybody who jumps inside the program right now is going to get that early bird access to the new content. I brought 2 people in, one from another state and one from another country, to film videos over the last week for inside of there. We got so much stuff with Facebook, 3x3 grids, Power Pixels, stuff that you guys haven't even heard of yet that's going to build off of everything that's in there, as well as so much stuff with email marketing and really tapping into another free traffic source on the back end once you utilize the marketing. So it's going to be super awesome to see all the results from, kind of this new batch of content and what people can do with it. So look forward to you guys being a part of that. Do you charge shipping for products? I do not. So this is kind of what I use as a marketing incentive. You only want your customer to pay once. Some people disagree with this. Some, decide to use a $16 product and $2 shipping. I disagree with that. So I'm either going to do free plus shipping. Free product, again, free water bottle. They pay for the shipping. I make all of my margin plus ad spend plus profit on the shipping cost. So $10, for example. Or they're going to pay $10 for the water bottle and then get free shipping. However you figure it, I personally believe that if it's a lower ticket product, the free plus shipping looks better because you can use the word free. If the product is free and they feel like they're only having to cover the shipping and handling, that just looks a little bit better. Now, it is getting a little bit oversaturated. Again, the word that I don't like to use, but it still works. It still does work. Like we talked about inside of here. Use it as a way to acquire a customer so that then you can use it on the back end. You can use them as a customer and already as a paying person to then upsell them. You can really increase that average order value from each individual client or customer. So huge. Dropship SPY to find winning products. I've used it. I still have it, but I don't. That's really not my primary spot. I really like just AliExpress and Facebook, and I do some research on Instagram as well. So there's a ton of stuff on product research inside of the program. You'll be able to see exactly how I structure all of that. Is eBay good for dropshipping? Great question, Adam. I've seen a lot of people. I have some friends who do it, but I've never done it myself, so I can't answer that. Does free plus shipping work on Facebook? Yes, it does. Hova, what's the Tripwire offer? So, for example, selling something for free, okay? That's the Tripwire offer, okay? And you want to get that to be able to then upsell them. Most people are only trying to make money with the Tripwire offer. And it doesn't have to be a free plus shipping. A Tripwire offer is just considered your initial offer. If you want to view it like that, usually it's thought of as a lower ticket offer. So you see marketers, for example, who write a book and they give you that book for free. You just cover shipping and handling. Most of the time, they actually lose money. They're not even making their margin on the free plus shipping because they're going to upsell you on every little thing, software, live event, whatever. They're going to upsell you. So that's how it works. They increase the value. They know the lifetime value of a customer and what they can bring in. So they're willing to lose money on the front end. But most people don't understand how to increase the value on the back end, so they can't afford to lose money on the front end because then they would just lose money overall. So that's when it becomes very difficult, and that's why a lot of people fail. Does Instagram still work for dropshipping? Yes. Instagram still works. Facebook still works. Shopify still works. Dropshipping still works. Everything works. If anyone says that, they just don't know how to make money with it. Everything changes, Instagram's changed a lot. Huge. Instagram's where I first started making money with e-com, but that's completely changed, and that's totally okay. How do you get social proof for a product on Facebook? Excuse me. Anthony, there's a few fun things inside of there that we do. The primary one would be increasing the actual engagement. So running video views from third world countries is huge to be able to get millions, like literally millions of views on your page post. And there's a few different things we do with the ad copy, the comments as well as in what sort of time frame we get those video views, as well as some engagement ads. So essentially just building up data, because what people want to see is that other people, even if they don't know them, have already done something. It inspires them to do it, and then they believe it's a good idea. So it's kind of like, what was it? The social experiment where people went in an elevator, okay? And the 5 people who were already in there were in on this prank, this experiment, whatever you want to call it, but they were facing away from the door. Their back was turned, so they were facing the wall. A couple of the people, I don't know how many people they did it, like 10. At least 3 of the people that they had in this video actually faced that way with them. So it just goes to show right there that immediately, based on what other people are doing, and that kind of got off the topic there, people really like to see that. So if they see a lot of other people are liking, viewing this, it's naturally viewed as something that has status. So that's just one specific way. A bit confused at the moment. Carlos says, can I use Instagram influencers for any products, or is there sort of a price limit? No, you can definitely use it for higher ticket stuff. That's just going to be a little bit more difficult, which is what we usually do with Facebook. So that's why the way I structure everything, and again, go through both the Instagram. I would, if I were you, Carlos, I would go through the Instagram module first, and then both the 2 modules on Facebook very quickly. Because we like to use Instagram influencers as the tripwire offer if you decide to use influencers to then get the data and that information. Then you can really increase that on the back end as well as with Facebook. So that's where you upsell them higher ticket. So if you don't have a tripwire cheaper offer, then you can still just start with higher ticket, but that's more so going to be on Facebook. What would you say is the very best way to make money to start dropshipping? Like to make money while starting dropshipping, or to get money to do dropshipping? I actually released a video on YouTube, just a public one, a few days ago on how I got money to start dropshipping. So if that's the variation of the question, go watch that. If you're trying to, if you started dropshipping, you want to make money with that quickly, make sure you have a winning product and be very careful with your marketing. Follow the specific strategy we teach. How would you recommend structuring Facebook ads for in-store visits? What would you optimize for? Wesley, I see you in my YouTube comments all the way, by the way. Shout out to you, brother. Give me a little bit more information on exactly what you're doing. So primarily, if I'm just trying to get visits, which is not exactly my goal, that's when I'm running VC campaigns. So I want people to take an action. I want to see who's actually not only interested, but serious, which is why we move through that 4-step process with VC, IC, ATC, and then VC, AC, ATC, IC. It gets all confusing when I'm trying to abbreviate. But the 4 conversions, okay, and then moving into purchase, which comes on the back end. Is it okay to use another platform than Shopify for your course? Most definitely. There's a few people who use Wix, which is interesting, and some people just take the marketing information and use that for Amazon or eBay. So it does depend on how you want to structure it, but that is just for e-commerce in general. Does ePacket still work for worldwide shipping? Yeah, most places that offer ePacket will offer it to most places. Much needed advice by Blake, a product based around headphones. What type of advice are you looking for, Blake? I'll look out for your comment. How much could an influencer charge for an ad? Theoretically, the most expensive one I've ever seen was like $3.5 million. So that was Kim Kardashian. Hopefully you're not going to pay that much right off the bat if you've never done one, but up to you. Trevor Burke, scaling his store. Shout out, brother, taking that marketing info and killing it. How many orders on AliExpress? Will, are you just doing product research? I really like ones that not have a specific amount, but they're increasing. So keep that tab open for that specific product and a few others. Refresh it every day. See how fast it's starting to pick up. But, a few hundred, 1,000. Go through the product research section of the course. What percentage of Instagram DMs do you get to on average? I see a good chunk of them. I do my best, but I get like 100 to 200 new requests every day on top of all the current conversations. And I try my best to initiate all the requests into conversations, but it's very difficult, especially since that's not quite a priority. Can you do a review of your own course? Thinking of getting it before I just purchase? Yeah, 100%. So it focuses a lot on marketing. And a lot of people might view that as a downside. The reason people have viewed something like this as a downside is like, oh, you don't talk about this or that. Well, that's because I don't do it. I'm not going to teach you something I don't do and that doesn't work now, which is why I completely have re-updated it 3 times now and just constantly adding more content. There's a reason for that. So the way I teach it and the way I structure it is not only everything I do, but it's laid out in a specific order. So that's why I always say, even if you have a store going and you're already making money and you jump in and you're just trying to focus on the marketing, still at least go through that initial structure phase, because how I run my marketing is based upon how I set up the store. So there are different variables that relate to that. So I'm very hyper-targeted on what I do. It's very specific. You can use that for other things. But based on what I've seen, the percentage of success rate, which is just hundreds and hundreds, we have thousands of testimonies now, is just uncompared to anything else. 100%. So I'll stand behind that any day. IG ads versus Facebook ads. Are you talking about IG influencers or ads on Instagram? Because ads on Instagram are working extremely well. That's still kind of through Facebook. But I primarily focus on Facebook ads, and I run them to Facebook and Instagram. I work at a restaurant. I hate it when it's slow. We got an ambitious new CEO, and I want to fly under his wing. Show me value company, Facebook marketing. Boom. Get under there. Help them out with some Facebook for sure. Let me try to find that comment from, who was it from? Let's see. It was Blake, I believe. Needed some more information. Let's see if he commented on it. Want to make sure that we get all these answered. Let's see. Explain ATC tier. Evan, for sure. So there's kind of a 4-step process, and you'll learn more about this in the 2 modules with the Facebook ads inside the program. But it starts with the first one. So there's VC. Okay, VC stands for view content. So there's a 4-step process with your conversion ads. It's view content, add to cart, initiate checkout, and then a purchase. And if you think about it, that's the same process people follow as they're actually going through your funnel step, which is the process they get pushed through to purchase. First, they see it. It's a view content. Then they go to your site, which means they left the platform, added it to their cart, ATC, add to cart. Then they initiated a checkout. They started filling out their information, and if they complete that, which some definitely don't, then you have what's called a purchase, which is the strongest piece of data. So that process, knowing that, does play a lot into the marketing strategies I use. I'm hitting 250 a day on a free plus shipping product. Is it possible to scale free plus shipping to 10K a month? Of course. I have free plus shipping low ticket offers doing 50K. You can definitely scale it. Especially if you're already doing 250 consistently, you know it's a winning product. Shoot me a DM on Instagram, Jesse. Just say like $250 a day with free plus shipping as the first line so I see it. I'll do my best to kind of give you some advice on that. Can I do high school and dropshipping? Will distract me? Only you can really know that. I would say no. I mean, your school is only a part of the day. It's all about priorities, which goes back to this: how to be productive. Don't have to-do list, priority list. That's been huge for me. Very, very massive. Does the logo matter much? If you're really focusing on branding, then it can be important, but I wouldn't stress that a lot. Get a good logo, no doubt, but it's not the biggest thing. Dude, Mac is very good for business. Yeah, I use a Mac. Can you explain hacking your pixel? Yeah, there's a lot of different things I do. I have a very specific structure with how I hack my pixel, which is the kind of where the name of the program came from, Hacking Shopify Dropshipping. I like to cut corners. So when I'm scaling a pixel, that's why we use tripwire offers before we go into higher ticket. Because with Facebook, where did this go? Do we even put it in here? Yeah, free plus shipping. So with this, I like to do a tripwire offer because I want to get a good amount of sales up front so that then I can really take that data and start using it for other offers in that similar store and similar niche. Because with Facebook, one sale is still one sale, whether it's a $10 sale or a $100 sale. Obviously, the $100 is a higher quality person, but one is still one. So I want to get a couple hundred sales as fast as possible. The best way to do that, the fastest way you push volume and you spend less money, is with a free plus shipping offer. That also ensures that I spend the least amount of money while ensuring that a new store is going to work. So that's kind of the very, very basic, like surface layer 1 stuff about that. But there's a lot of different things we do to really speed up the process, specifically with Facebook. So huge. Evan, please explain ATC. Yeah, I just went through that, brother, for you. I went through that for you. But yeah, if anyone has any last minute questions, I'm going to jump off of here in a few minutes. Again, feel free to drop a comment on my YouTube videos. That's a great place. I go through and I see every single comment. I'm making that a point. So other than that, if you want me to click on any specific slide out of here, if you want to screenshot it real quick, I'll kind of move through this for a second. Feel free to take a screenshot, write it down. Hopefully you've been taking notes along the way. But I hope this helped. I really do. A lot of different stuff with the upsell. So many people leaving money on the table on the back end. I still have been too. Up until like 4 or 5 months ago, I just didn't focus that much on it. I was too obsessed with Facebook ads. So I didn't completely prioritize that correctly, which is fine. But, you know, you live and you learn. Now it's the most effective possible. You know, that'll continue to change. But yeah, be sure to use that code, you guys. That's going to be gone about 20 minutes after I jump off of this stream, after this Q&A. So use the code 200 on the link down below. If you don't see the link, refresh, and this will be reposted. So this will be up for a little bit longer. Feel free to go back through it, skip through it once it's reposted. If you have any other questions, let me know inside of here. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm going to do my best to be a little bit active in there tonight. I've got a ton of other stuff to do. But yeah, you're going to leave the live up a little bit. I think I'm going to leave it up for the end of the night, until the end of the night. So there's a lot of people in different time zones who wanted to see it. So I'm starting dropshipping in college. Can we connect? Most definitely. Yeah, connected right now. Shoot me a DM though. Do you still use influencers to gain data on your pixel? Are still effective? Definitely effective. I've taken the approach over like the last 8 to 9 months to shift from doing that, which worked great and it still does. You know, taking influencers, getting the data and taking that to Facebook. But then I wanted to learn how to do Facebook from scratch, which is what pretty much no one seems to be able to do. Like that's the real skill. Everybody's always talking about, oh, you know, hit me up if you have data or this and that, like 300 sales, 500 sales. But knowing how to do it from scratch is everything. You can't just start with 300 sales. How do you get those sales? So unless you're going to like finesse influencers for a while, which some products don't even really work with influencers, you want to have that skill. So I made sure I built that skill. I still do use influencers a little bit. I'm transitioning into that with actually 2 new stores that I've been making, which I explained on my YouTube channel a few, what was it, 4 days ago, 5 days ago? Yeah, so check that out. It's pretty much called Update 2 New Stores or something on my YouTube. What's your IG handle? It's just @Bowles. So my last name, @BOWLES. So other than that, you guys, I hope this helped. Hope you got some value on that. Be sure to go through and screenshot those if you haven't. Hope you took notes. Other than that, I do appreciate everyone watching. Be sure to use that code because that's going to be gone very, very shortly. And you're going to be the ones to get the earliest access to the new content that's dropping. So super excited to see kind of the next batch of people with that new content, to see all the results based on what happens once you implement it. Gonna be freaking fire. Super excited for everyone inside of here. And with that being said, I'm gonna see you later.